as much details as we can. What we know, the guy in the know is Casey Pratt. We've talked to Casey many times about this situation with the A's. Covers the A's and covers a lot of different things down there for ABC 7 News in the Bay Area. Casey, I know there was a path that we thought we could avoid the situation that ultimately we got to yesterday, but what did yesterday's news do to you and in any kind of hope going forward that the A's have any last-ditch chance to stay in Oakland?
Well, Jason, for your listeners, I did my first ever sports radio hit as an A's insider with you, and I'm certain this won't be the last because there's still a lot of things that can go wrong in Las Vegas with this deal. I don't want to give people false hope, but there's basically no information out there about what they're planning on doing, and so that gives me at least a little bit of positivity on that front. I mean, you guys have seen what happens when a team tries to relocate and ends up staying. There's always a tiny sliver of hope left, and I think that's the case here still.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's going to hope on the failures of the A's operation, which is very possible, but the fact that MLB owners all supportive, I think, Vegas would the logic in moving to Vegas makes some sense, but just relying on the A's owners to fall apart. I think this next window, though, Casey, is really interesting. I mean, 2028 is a long ways away, and immediately next year and the following years, the immediate future of this team seems really cloudy right now.
It's unbelievably cloudy. I mean, to think that the owners unanimously passed a deal without even knowing where this team is going to play after next season for 3 years, and to think that there's still so much up in the air about, like, who's the design architect? Is there even a real rendering of this ballpark? How are they going to pay for it? I'm already hearing it's over budget and nothing ever comes in, when you're doing construction, remodeling, any type of project like that. It really never comes in at the right price. So how are they going to pay for the overages? We all know that there's a lot of questions about John Fisher's, financials at this point. So there's just so many chips that are still out there on the table, to use like a Vegas metaphor. And I think that it's going to be a fascinating few years. Again, I really don't think this is the end. I know people see it as the end, and they were pretty stunned yesterday. But if you've been paying attention, everyone knew this was going to happen, and we all knew it was going to get voted through. So it was just a step in the process. Casey
Pratt joining us here on Sactown Sports. So, Casey, let's start with next year then. I mean, there is still the plan is to play in Oakland. I was talking about this before, where I would get 100% of any A's fan that says, I'm not spending another cent on this organization. Would never fault anybody. I totally understand that line of thinking. For me, that's not an A's fan, but I'd never want to see this team move. I've spent many games there as just a fan of baseball. I would find myself probably attending a game next year as someone that wants to see the park again, that wants to rekindle some old memories. Where do you think that will fall in line of people that says, no way, I hate them, I'm done, to a few people that go, well, it is my last chance to maybe see a game ever in this stadium?
Yeah, I think it's really, there's so many ways to take this. And, the first is A's fans their immediate reaction is, we're staging a boycott on opening day. Nobody goes in that ballpark. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a pretty strong message to be sent, because opening day is usually one of the only games that is widely attended. And so I think that's an interesting way to look at it. I think for many A's fans, they've been so frustrated and fed up by this ownership group that this was like the last straw for them. And I definitely understand that. And I think that as an A's fan, you've been wronged so many times out here that you probably could be very well understood never to step foot at the Coliseum again. Then on the flip side, the Oakland leverage play that they have is to try to get MLB to extend the lease to 2028 and get some concessions in return, like an expansion team or keeping the A's team name and colors, things like that. Well, if A's fans have basically said, we are never stepping foot in that ballpark again, it's going to be hard for that lease to be extended. So that's another way to look at it. The other is fans, feel like, hey, if we're losing this team and this is the last year, like I want to go at least one more time and, take my family there and at least kind of have a final moment at the Coliseum. And I understand that aspect too.
Casey, I thought it was, reading several things on this, maybe one more little twist of the knife to A's fans was that very precedent about, hey, can they at least keep their name, their colors, the branding in Oakland for if there's a future where they're so fortunate to get an expansion team that can kind of keep everything going. And I guess, from Dave Cavill, it was like, no, look, this is no different than the Philadelphia, like just how they've moved. And this is just a step in the process. They plan on taking all that with Vegas. Boy, they sure know how to handle their PR, don't they?
It's not been great.
Yeah.
That being said, I don't disagree with him. I mean, he's right about that, right?
Yeah.
Like this team and name and history has followed it through, Philly, Kansas City, and Oakland. So he's not wrong, but the city of Oakland is going to do everything they can to fight back. And so, again, I don't disagree with that point. I don't think maybe he needed to say it. In the end, he'll probably get to keep it. But where this really is interesting to me is, Dave Cavill has told me in the past he grew up a Browns fan, and he was devastated by the Browns situation. And interestingly enough, the Browns situation is exactly what he's doing to A's fans right now. And the Browns did keep their name and colors and everything, and ended up, getting their team back in a sense. So there's a lot of weird parallels here, but for a guy who said himself how devastated he was by what happened to his team growing up, to do it to another fan base is just despicable.
So, Casey, let's look. We mentioned kind of next year how uncertain that is in Oakland with the final year in the lease there. But what about 25 to 28? That's a significant window where certainly at this time where the stadium is, who's building it, all that's up in the air, but it certainly won't be ready till 2028. So what happens in that 3-year window?
So I think their best bet is honestly to stay at the Coliseum. It's just they're going to have to play ball with the city to do it. And now the real situation here, the one that people aren't quite talking about that much yet, is that the A's TV deal gives them over $60 million a year to be in the Bay Area. The second they leave the Bay Area, NBC Sports is going to pull out of that deal so fast your head will spin because they're not getting a good return on that investment. So the A's have to be in the Bay Area or they lose $60 million plus a year. So what's the other solution? If they can't stay at the Coliseum, it's to try to see if they could play games at Oracle Park.
Wow.
Now, if the Giants let the A's play games at Oracle Park, it would be the biggest slap in the face to the city of Oakland and their fans virtually ever. Even a bigger slap than when they wouldn't give back the San Jose territorial rights that the A's gave them for free in an effort to help them stay in the Bay Area for the good of the Bay Area. Remember, the Giants are trying to move to St. Petersburg, and the Haas family said, here, take San Jose, build a ballpark there, stay in the Bay Area. And then the Giants kept those territorial rights even when the A's wanted to build in San Jose. So if the Giants let the A's play at Oracle Park, it would take a knife and jam it right through the heart of Oakland because they would have no more leverage on this Coliseum lease and everything would be up in smoke at the city of Oakland.
So, I think there's no way that, I don't know, there's always a way, but that one feels really slim. What if that doesn't happen? Then what are their options?
Then things get really interesting because maybe you try to find a way to play in Sacramento or you try to find a way to play your Vegas minor league park, but then what happens to the Aviators? And also your $60 million deal goes up in smoke. So, yeah, it's a completely murky mess. No one has any answers. And again, how can Major League Baseball unanimously approve something when they don't even know that? Like, at some point, you gotta wonder, like, what is going on with this sport? That's all I gotta say.
So, what's your best answer to that, though, Casey? Like, is that just owners protecting owners? Like, you know what? I don't want anyone kind of questioning my business if I'm the Tampa Bay owner and I want to move in future years. Like, what? Why was it so comfortable for them to go all in and nobody saying no to this?
The real reason is free money, right?
Yeah.
Like, they don't want to lose free money. They want to support their ownership groups. And if you look at the head of the relocation committee, Mark Atanasio, and the Brewers, at the exact same time they were studying A's relocation, they were trying to get $500 million in public funds from their own municipality. So doing this to the A's doing to Oakland, I should say, is a very good way for when all these teams want those public funds to upgrade their stadiums or do a new stadium, pointing to Oakland and saying, see what happens when you don't play ball with us, is a pretty good cudgel they can use to extract more money out of their own municipalities. So I think this was purely a move that was designed to make a lesson out of Oakland and say, if you don't play ball with us on these public funds when we ask, you're going to lose your team too.
Yeah, but also, weren't they doing this void of a relocation fee?
Yes, yeah, they waived the relocation
That's
fee.
That's crazy.
So these guys, these MLB owners, have waived the relocation fee for the A's. They've now lost the expansion fee for Las Vegas, and they've been giving John Fisher revenue sharing for years. Like, at what point do they stop trying to prop up this guy? I don't know what he has on him at this point.
Casey, got to ask, so there's three things I wrote down here that all seem very, very slim chances of happening, but I'll ask you which one you think has the best chance. So I guess the first one is the A's, as we know them, staying in Oakland. Seems pretty slim, but you never know. That option, the A's potentially playing in San Francisco, sharing the stadium, or future expansion in Oakland. What of those three that all seem slim to me has the best chance, would you say?
Wow, that's a great question. I think the Oracle Park one has the best chance because I think MLB will be desperate to find any way to get the A's somewhere to play, and the A's will be desperate to find any way they can to stay in the Bay Area. I really think the lease extension in Oakland's probably their best road, but the city's not going to play ball with them unless they're willing to give up some concessions. And then as far as expansion's concerned, if someone like Joe Lacob, who has mentioned many, many times that he would love to own a Major League Baseball team, puts together a really good bid and works with the city of Oakland to say, hey, look, we had a deal like 90% done at Howard Terminal. Let's just finish this thing. I think baseball would be crazy not to try to get Joe Lacob back in the fold. But I don't know. I mean, I think that there's so many questions, and the A's staying in Oakland at this point past 2028 seems like a maybe 2-3% chance of happening. It's pretty low at this point, but it's not over yet. Still a sliver of hope.
Well, you said it right at the beginning, Casey. I know we're going to talk to you more about this. The journey will continue. There'll be more things that will get uncovered as this goes along. I really feel for the A's fans. I hope they get some sort of reward out of this. I don't know. I can't see it now, but I hope for them that something positive happens. Casey, we always appreciate you. I know we'll check in with you. We encourage anybody to follow your stuff because you're really dialed in on this, and we'll talk again soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Jason. Have a good one.
All right. Thanks, you too. Casey Pratt really dialed in on this A's situation. Yeah, it's slim, but as he said, there's always a chance, but I don't know. You don't want to give, as he said it too, you don't want to give anybody false hope. All right, we'll break. We'll come back. Final hour still to come. We got celebrity birthdays. We got Friday Fun and Games. But next,